Welcome to the Board Ghost Dialect episode primer.
If living is a highway, then heaven is a bus stop. Been waiting for a minute there, or has it been forever? 'Cause dying don't...
Dialect is a game from Thorny Games designed by Kathryn Hymes and Hakan Seyalioglu. The game was a successful Kickstarter, and as of this recording in May 2018, is available for pre-order and in PDF format. You can find it on thornygames.com. You can learn more about the game and its publisher at thornygames.com. This is a GMless game, so you don't need a game master, but it's recommended that one of you has read through all the rules and can act as facilitator to help new players and keep things on track. A Dialect is a game about language. You play as members of an isolated group called an isolation, who develop a language as that group, that isolation, collapses or fades, and that isolation's language disappears along with it. The game is structured to be played in 3 acts, with players each taking one turn, one scene per act, along with a series of short scenes to conclude the tale. To play, you'll need 3 to 5 players, a copy of the language deck that comes with the game. It's printable from the PDF available on the publisher's site, again, thornygames.com, a set of 20 to 30 index cards, some writing utensils, and a surface to gather around. The language deck provides all the cards you need for setup and play, archetype, age cards, and legacy cards. The setup of the game starts with creating your isolation. So you pick a backdrop, which is a setting for the story, and there are a number of those available in the back of the book. Using the backdrop, you define the aspects of your isolation. These are 3 things that create the basis of your language creation and launch points for your character and scene creation. And there's some question prompts in the backdrop that you choose to help you generate those aspects. After you've defined your aspects, you answer a few questions to add detail and depth to your isolation. Lastly, you name your backdrop before moving on to character creation. In character creation, you start by dealing each player 3 archetype cards. Each player chooses the one that they want to use as a basis for their character, reads it aloud to the group, and gives a rundown of their character. Archetype cards ask you to define yourself in relation to one of the aspects that you put together when you created the backdrop for your isolation. To introduce a character, you provide their common name and a name that only some people call them. So you kind of give them right away 2 different names and a weight to those names. You describe their role in the isolation and their relationship to the aspects. And again, your archetype card will help you prompt towards doing that. Now you move into Age 1 and playing your scenes. So in Age 1, each player at the beginning is dealt 3 Age 1 language cards, where you actually draw from the Age 2 language cards in Age 1. So you put those Age 2 language cards in reach of everyone so they can draw from them as they use their Act 1 cards up. Players can take a turn in any order, and each player gets 1 full turn in the first age. And in every subsequent age, per age, they get 1 turn. To take a turn, you first make a connection. So you pick a card from your hand and you tie it to an aspect of the current age. You describe why this aspect has brought about a new word, and you add detail to the world. Then you build a word. Communally, you take suggestions, discuss what the word could be. If you're the player taking the turn, you're the one who's going to make the final decision. You have final say over what that word is. You write that word on an index card, place it next to the aspect it relates to, and now you set up your conversation. This is the meat of your scene. So you're going to read the prompt at the bottom of the card that you picked to start your word, and that will give you a prompt for the scene. And so then you set a scene by determining who is in it, and you have to have at least 2 characters, and it doesn't have to be the person whose turn it is. They can pick other characters they think are more appropriate, and you have those characters answer 2 questions. Where are we, and what are we doing? The players in the scene then have a conversation, and the goal of these conversations are work to show their character's relation to the word that you've just created and to resolve the prompt from the card. Once those 2 sort of factors have been hit for each character in the scene, anyone can end the scene when they feel that it's reached that resolution or a resolution beyond those 2 points. You continue this way until everyone has taken a turn in Act 1, noting that there are language cards that are not a prompt for scenes, but are instead like action cards that can be played by any player out of turn to add new words to the game. Similarly, a player can discard any card from their hand to add a variant to a word in the language. So you can use a card to take a word that already exists and make a tweak on it based on something that's already happened or something that you just want to add to the world so that you have more vernacular in your language tableau. And anytime you use a card, you discard that card and you draw a card from the deck of the age that follows. If you're in Age 1, you grab an Age 2 card. If you're in Age 2, you grab an Age 3 card. When you finish the first act, you transition to a new age. So you're going to look at the backdrop you chose, and you're going to read out the prompts for that transition. Then they'll give you a choice a pathway in that backdrop, usually A or B, and that will add complexity to your new age. And you have to address what groups or people are referenced in that transition, who they are, how much time has passed to get from this previous age to the age that you're entering, and also how the community reacts to these changes as you shift into a new age. Next, as a group, you evolve an aspect. So you're going to pick one of the aspects, one of your three as a group, and decide how the transition into this new age has changed the aspect. Then you replace the aspect. You move the remaining unchanged aspects into the new age and put this new aspect in there with them. So you have three aspects again, but one of them is new, one of them is changed, and the old aspect no longer applies. And before continuing into the turns for a new age, players can discard a card and draw one from the following age. So if you get to the end of age 1, you can discard a card to draw an age 2 card. So then you go ahead and play out age 2. Everyone takes turns, refresh their hands by drawing from the age 3 deck until you transition into the third age, and you follow the same transition instructions. There'll be prompts specific to the third age. There'll be choices. You'll just determine all those questions that help your community understand itself as you move into the third and final age. Then you play out that third age until everyone's taken a turn. Then you transition into the legacy. So at the end of age 3, you give one legacy card to each player. After reading out the transition prompts and pathway chosen from the backdrop, each player then takes their legacy card, and each legacy cards have a few prompts on them. And you as a player get to pick which prompt you think applies best to your character and their reflection on the age. Each player takes their legacy card to tell a narrated epilogue based on one of the prompts from their legacy card. And this is a moment of reflection on the world as the isolation ceases. So when everyone has told their epilogues, you have completed the game. It's recommended you discuss the game and story after it's completed because you're going to have created a language, you're going to create a story, and you should reflect upon that and even kind of talk about what words you may take out as a group. The other thing too is this, as a group, you've created words that only you 3 to 5 players know the relationship of. You're the only ones who know what these words mean and what their relations are to a world. So you now have created a dead language that will die with you as you forget it or as you sort of move on. So once again, Dialect is a game from Thorny Games designed by Kathryn Hymes and Hakan Seyalioglu, available at thornygames.com. Thanks again for listening to Board Ghost. We've got an episode up of us playing Dialect with some great people, a nice big group, and you should go check it out. Again, thanks everyone for listening, and this was a Board Ghost Primer. Have a great game.
Dying don't agree with me.